Yahweh, we love, adore, exalt, magnify, and extol you for who you are and why you are. Asking now that you be with us, in us, through us, and toward us for your name's sake and for your praise. There is literally none like you in all the earth. This time we give, we render to you. You alone are holy, you alone are righteous, and literally you alone are Elohim. So keep now, we pray you, our hearts in you, and allow for our spirit to rest with you for your word and your wisdom. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we all say, we all pray. Amen. All right. Let us prepare our hearts to get into this word with a good dig dive and what's new and what's happening within it. Let us prepare ourselves. We have a moment just to talk about a few of the notes from last week. Is that okay? Moderators?
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. I was trying to get to my mic. I apologize.
Thank you. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, sir, I am. Shalom, everyone. Welcome to this week's Bible Book Club. These are your notes from last week, which was November the 10th, 2022, and we are in Bereshit, and which is Genesis chapter 18. Now, I've pinned the notes at the top of the page. You can go ahead and grab them if you're on Clubhouse. If you're on Facebook, I have posted them in the comments. So we began at Bereshit 18, verse 1, and we ended at Bereshit 18, verse 21. And our scripture of focus last week was Bereshit 18 and 10. Now, a few of Apostles' key points as we focused on Adonai, the word. Here are a few of the key points. In chapter 18, Abraham notices the presence of Adonai, and that can be found in verse 3. In regards to verse 10, the word is confirmed out of 2 or 3 witnesses. And in chapter 17, verse 21, Yahweh speaks to Abraham, stating, Sarai shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And then Adonai in verse 10 is now coming to articulate or speak the plan. Sarai now hears the word because we live in a voice activated kingdom, which now, because she's heard it, it activates her womb for childbearing, which had been dormant up until that point. Another key point is Apostle points out that in 18:1, Yahweh speaks to Abraham, but in verse 3, Adonai is speaking. And Abraham's discernment of who is in his presence at this moment is significant. Just a few more key points is Yahweh said there is a set time, and Adonai came to declare the time. In this chapter, we understand and see the relationship between husband and wife getting the prophecy of Yahweh to fulfill and manifest it. Husbands, see the need to make sure that the wife is with you during conversations with the Father, Yahweh. Make it your desire to bring your wife with you when you go to study or pray. A few teachable moments. Men, whenever the word of Elohim comes into your world, you are to have your wife in the vicinity. When Yahweh, our Adonai, speaks to you, she hears it too. Apostle, back to you.
I am grateful. Thank you very much for those notes that were taken. I do believe they were copious notes. I'm hoping everyone gets opportunity to join them and enjoy them. So what we want you to do is make sure that we get everybody an invitation to come on up on platform. We're going to share the word tonight and talk about some of the things that we discussed within this reading. We do something a little bit different here, a little bit unique here, and I hope that everybody can appreciate it. Here we study the word. Going to come up with anything that's going to be sort of kind of like exciting or trendy with you. Always just read what the writ says, and from the writ, I believe that salvation is best found. And sometimes you can become so inundated with the newest and the latest that you forget that he is the Ancient of Days. So the word of Elohim stands firm and stands fast. Those of you on Facebook, we are so sorry. However, we get into a proper space to prepare for the video. So you're getting an audio on Facebook and IG and YouTube. So we're hoping that you all are okay with that. But please, everyone take a microphone and come on up. Moderator's going to send one to you. Please don't deny it. Well, you can. It's your choice. But it's a way that we study together and share together. All right. So on Bereshit chapter number 18, we're going to start with a very quick recap. We already had one from the notes, but let's look at it from the writ. And just Bereshit chapter number 18, we'll start at let's go to verse 1. And Yahweh appeared unto him, or Yahweh appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and they sat at the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them for the tent door. And he bowed at the tent door, and he bowed himself down toward the ground and said, My Lord, Adonai, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from your servant. Verse 4. Let a little water, I pray thee, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Verse 5. I will fetch a morsel. I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort you and your hearts. After that, you shall pass on. For therefore are you come to your servant. And they said, So do, as you have said. Verse number 6 says, And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarai, and said unto her, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meat, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran into the herd and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto the young man, and he hastened to dress it. Verse 8, and he took butter and milk and the calf. That sounds good, don't it? Butter and milk and the calf. And he dressed it, and he set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Verse 9, they said unto him, Where is Sarai thy wife? He said, Behold, in the tent, Sarai his wife shall have a son, your wife shall have a son. And Sarai heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Verse number 11 says, Now Abraham and Sarai were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarai after the manner of women. And verse 12 says, Therefore Sarai laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my master? He also being old, we're now going to have a child. Verse 13, and Yahweh said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarai laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Is anything too hard for Yahweh, Abraham? At the time appointed, I will return unto you according to the time of life, and Sarai shall have a son. Verse 15. Then Sarai was like, No, I did that. That's not really what I had said. It just tickled. Yeah, I'm just an old woman. I don't know these things. I'm just thinking it's like, I've been praying forever to get a child, and now I'm breathing dust, and now you're gonna tell me I'm gonna have a baby. I wasn't really laughing. And the dust from the flour was he made me make 3 cakes, and then we started cooking on the earth, and the ashes, it just choked me up a little bit. It just sounded like I was laughing. Okay, the BWJ translation done. Back to the actual King James. Verse 15 says, And Sarai denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nah, chick, Now you laugh. You laughed. I know you. I heard you. We heard it that you laughed. All of us, we heard you laugh. Verse 18. Y'all didn't think that was good? I was a very good dramatic reading. I'm sorry. I just believe it was a very good dramatical reading, and I would hope that you all would recognize good reading when you see good reading. All right, verse 16 says, and the men rose up from thence and looked towards Saddam, and Abraham went with them. Okay? Can you hear me?
Now we can, sir.
You could not hear me all that time I was talking?
No, sir, just for a second.
Okay, so y'all didn't like my dramatical reading of Sariah? I'm just asking.
It was excellent. Bravo.
You know what? You know what I'm going to say? You lying. I'm calling Cat. You that little fake little yeah, Lord. Nah. Yeah, all right. See how y'all do that? All right. Verse 18 says, seeing Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. Verse 19, for I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of Yahweh to do justice and judgment, and Yahweh may bring up upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And Yahweh said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. Verse 21 says, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I'll know. Now, I want us to catch this because it's extremely important to bear witness of what what is happening here in this text. Now, many don't really catch what goes on here, but I want everybody to pay as close attention as you can to these pieces of what we're being shared. Now, verse number 21, he says, I'm going to go down and see whether altogether, according to Avnah, whether the cry of it is as bad as it seems coming up to me. Now, who knows what uniquely and interestingly happens here? Well, let me talk about it. This is Adonai in the earth, but Yahweh is speaking to Avram, saying, I'm going to go down and see if what's in Sodom and Gomorrah is as bad as it sounds coming up in my ears. Now, this is Elohim. Clearly he knows, but who else knows another time when, in fact, Elohim came down amongst the people?
Spencer.
Pastor, hey, talk to me. What you got?
Shalom.
Shalom.
I was switching devices, so I hope I heard the question correctly. Did you ask what other time did something similar like this happen?
Yes. What other time did Adonai come down?
Yeah, when Nimrod and his folks were building the Tower of
Very
Babel.
good. Very good.
Yeah, I recognize that, and I'll add something a little bit later. So go ahead.
All right. Well, go ahead. Add now. I'm listening. What you got?
Yes, so that is what I noticed in verse 21, but also back in verse 2 and 3, I thought that it should be noted that Abram, he recognized immediately who they were, because any other time in scripture when individuals appeared unto people and they bowed themselves to worship, the angels would say, no, don't do that. But these three men did not say anything, and that led me to believe that this was Yahweh, Adonai, and Holy Spirit, and Abraham recognized them immediately. Is that correct?
Well, as we talked about last week on that passage, that was from our last week's study, it wasn't so much that it was the Elohim. It was Adonai. In verse 2, you'll see it was you'll see it is in verse number 3, rather. Verse number 3. Whenever you see capital Lord, that's the Adonai. Now in verse 1, it's like Yahweh appeared unto him in the main plains of Mamre and said unto him, and he sat down in the tent in the heat of the day. His eyes looked up, and there were 3 men stood afar off. Now the 3 you have, as has been customary, Adonai would always, Adonai, or flash of the pan, we call it the Christophany, would appear in the earth. These are flashes in the pan. This is not Yeshua. This is Adonai in flesh, in a flash pan, not a permanent body prepared. This is just like a hologram, if you will, of sorts. But the angels, which would accompany him, they would in fact be with him. So when he bowed down, he recognized the Adonai. He recognized the Adonai, and the other 2 were angels. So that wasn't necessarily Ruach HaKodesh and Yahweh, but he did recognize the Adonai.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah. Good
I
ad.
missed the last week's lesson. And then 2 other things as I was preparing for this. I recognized that Abraham is just a servant at heart. And when he recognized the men, he immediately, washed their feet, something that Yeshua did for his disciples. He said, the greatest among you must be servants of all. And I thought that just really showed his humility, which is why later on, it said, shall I hide this thing from Abraham? And he said, he knew that Abraham would command his family because he knew Abraham's heart, and that his heart was directed to obey Torah and to do the will of the Father. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out was in verse 8, because isn't there weren't the Israelites forbidden to mix meat and milk together? But here we see that, they were served butter and milk and the calf, and they ate it all together. So I wanted to present that to the platform and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's an issue that runs into a grand deal of controversy, but Torah does indicate, like issues such as Shabbat, Sabbath keeping, it is before the Torah, though it's written in the Torah. Things such as the tithes, they are in the Torah, but they are before the Torah. And this issue of the dietary delineations, which is before the Torah, but yet it's in the Torah. So again, the law for that has not come. Now it's interesting because as I sit and listen to it, butter and steak, if you ever really come from like a Italian steak shop, they will use a seasoned butter with a good piece of steak, and I promise you, your tongue will dance in your mizalf, and that's for shizzle. I promise you.
I love it.
Look here. But when it came time for them to be in the wilderness, and Yahweh gave them the edict, he did delineate what they needed to eat and what they did not need to eat, in light of the fact that they did not have stability. And then you have the delineation of the law of what you can and can't eat, the herbs, how you should not mix this with that, mix fabrics, the whole 9 yards. So that's a conversation that we won't have time to do in the Bible Book Club. But we do have a planned schedule for what takes place with the laws of Torah in our Bible studies on DKM Wednesdays, and they run into series that we run on Sundays. But yeah, that's a good point to notate. A very good point to notate. Last week I left it off the table. I wanted to really wait to see if anybody had noticed it, but you did it in the second week of us recapping it. So yeah, that was an issue. All right, Roundtree, go.
Something that I had been studying and saw is, I think that Pastor Spencer is referencing boiling a kid in a mother's milk. And so that, as we know from Halakha and things, they have now, moved it all the way to the separations, but it originally started with just boiling a kid in a mother's milk, which was custom that the heathens did as far as fertility. And so the understanding is that's why Yahweh said not to do that, because the nations around them did that as a reproductive and fertility right. Just adding that.
Yeah, that's an add on a different layer, but it is a lab that is connected to some of the command of, i.e., Pesach. Yes, even in Pesach. I'll go this far with that, Roundtree, that when you talk about Pesach in Leviticus chapter or Exodus chapter number 12, when Yahweh tells them, you shall boil, you shall roast the lamb, you shall not boil, shall not seethe the lamb. The boil could be in water, or as in some heathen areas and places of fertility, the fertility gods, you do not boil it in the mother's milk. Now, there was another culture that used the boiling or the boiling of meat, like a baby in its mother's milk. It wasn't just for fertility, and it did demonstrate a acknowledgement of a particular god. However, there was another god of boiling in the meat, boiling the baby in the mother's meat, which dealt with some other forms of not so much fertility, but with some other perversions. So they wanted to make sure, and in the sense of Exodus Shemot 12, Yahweh wanted to make sure that in the land of Egypt, which did celebrate fertility, and they did believe in the gods of fertility and all the different things, he made it very clear. I don't want, when I give you back your firstborn, your the rights of your firstborn, and I give you back that fertility from that, I don't want y'all mixing that with what I did with what these other demigods did. So that's a good point. It takes us into a whole nother area, but it is connected to portion of the delineation of what you can and can't do when it comes to preparing meats, i.e., chametz, i.e., the boiling in the milk, boiling in the water, and there was also some other things. But we'll get into that as we keep reading in the book of in the book here of Torah over time in the Bubble Book Club. But those things will be coming up soon when we start getting into Numbers and Leviticus. Great points, guys. Good eyes. I'm so glad you guys are learning how to see things, identify them as they're happening in the text, even though they're not the highlight of the text. Good job. Love it. All right. Let's get back now to Bereshit. Bereshit chapter number 18. And let's go into verse. Where did we stop last? Verse 15. We'll pick up from 15 just for the sake of overlap. Then Sariah denied, saying, I laugh not. But she did that because she was afraid. He said, no, you did laugh. The men rose up from thence, and they looked towards Sodom. Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And Yahweh said, shall I hide from Abraham the thing that I will do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great nation and a mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they will keep the way of Yahweh to do justice and judgment, that Yahweh may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken unto him. Verse number 20, everybody. Verse number 20. So now in verse number 20, he goes on also to read and state, and Yahweh said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom. And Abraham stood yet before Yahweh, and Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? I mean, peradventure, peradventure, I don't know, there be 50 righteous within that city of Saddam. Will you also destroy and not spare the people for the 50 that are righteous inside of that city? Eh, that be far from you to do after this manner, you know, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked that be far from you. Shall not the judge of the earth do righteousness? Mm, mm, mm. And Yahweh said unto Avram, if I find in Saddam 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the people, all the place for their sakes. Mhm. And Abraham answered and said, behold now, I have taken upon myself to yet open my mouth again, but I humble my mouth to you. I take it upon myself. I realize I've not gotten permission, but I'm asking if I just might speak just a little bit more unto the Adonai, uh, which am but dust. I'm but dust and ashes. I'm sure you know my frame. I am but dust and ashes. But if I could just uh, peradventure, there shall lack 5 of the 50 I asked about. Will you destroy all the city for a lack of 5 of the 50 righteous? So 45, I'm thinking. If there's 45, you. So if in fact you find 45, what would you do? And Adonai said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, Adonai, master Adonai, listen, peradventure, there shall be 40, not 50, not 55, not 45, but let's just say there be 40 there. And he said, I will not do it if there's 40, it's good. I won't destroy the place if there's 40. And he said unto him, yes, dear sir. Let not Adonai be angry. And I will speak. Just please don't be angry. I got something to ask you. Peradventure, there shall be found 30 there. And he says, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, behold now, I have taken upon me just one more again. Just one more time, I'd like to ask you a question if I could. So, would you please allow me to speak one more time? And thank you for being gracious, answering my 5 prior questions. I've got one more question I'd like to ask. I take it upon myself to speak, and I realize I could be penalized, but Adonai, peradventure, there shall be 20 found there. And he says, if I find 20, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. Okay. And then again, he says, oh, let me, Adonai, please, let me not frustrate you to anger you. But Adonai, I just gotta ask. I will speak yet but this once more. Peradventure, only 10 shall be found there. And he says, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And Yahweh went on his way. As soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Now, this is where the world oftentimes gets this, you got to be persistent with God and persistent with him in prayer and persistent with what you want from him. You have to keep asking him over and over again. And Yahweh, he already knows what Abraham has need of. Abraham just don't know it. Can anybody see that Yahweh's looking at him like, man, just say what you're going to say. Say, you could have just said that the first time. I got you. I got this. It's not going to be a problem there. I'll spare the city if there's 10. Because Abraham, does anybody know why Abraham is making this request?
Spencer.
Pastor Spencer, go ahead.
Because his nephew is there.
Okay, Lot is there. Does anybody know the uniqueness of Abraham's plaguing and plight to ask these questions? Lot is there. This is of a truth. But what's the significance of that? Why? Because, Abraham had several hundred people in his camp. Lot had quite a few folk too. Remember, because they couldn't all be in the same place because they had so many shepherds. The shepherds were fighting with each other. We're dealing with at least tens of people on both sides of each camp. Do y'all remember the story of Lot and Abraham and when they had to split? Anyone?
Yes.
All right. So when they had the story of Abraham having to split, there were like tens of shepherds. Abraham started at 50 and broke down to 10. Now Lot had him and his wife and 2 daughters. That's 4. That would mean then that the region and the city of, in fact, Sodom and the metropolis of Sodom and Gomorrah had gotten so wicked that even the shepherds that worked for Lot probably wasn't working for him no more. They had gone ahead and just full-fledged went all out with what was going on in the region. And Lot's house, though he got his wealth, even the people he had to employ may have been compromised in, what they had started off with Abraham under. Anybody thought about that with this plight, this plea Abraham is making with Adonai?
I didn't think about that. I'm sorry, Pastor Spencer.
Bryce.
All right, Pastor Spencer, I hear you. Brother Grice, what about you?
Yes. But I think he still had concern for them. That's why he was asking about, he was just going through the numbers because he knew even though those people probably wasn't with him anymore, he still had compassion and concern for them. That's my thought. Okay.
I personally think that he was really more so worried about Lot. He's like, okay, now I know, and you're right though. He has compassion for the people. And Abraham says, will not, and what got me was the first thing he says, will not the God that you are, will not who you are not do right? That's what he's saying. Will you not do right? Will you really, and he's like, I can't guarantee that all of Lot's crew is still there. I really can't guarantee that all of Lot's crew is still there. But I know at least, if he's got at least 10 people in his camp that came out with me, would you spare all the people and not kill them down there? That's that compassion of Christ. But a lot of people fail to realize that he was really trying to count up and see, just to make sure even Lot's family got saved and spared. I found that very interesting in the text.
Spencer.
Pastor Spencer, go.
Another thought I had was because Abraham, right, is a great grandson, or he's related to Noah, right? And I believe that, the mercy and grace of Yahweh was communicated through that lineage. And Abraham knew that Yahweh didn't destroy the entire world because of one righteous man, Noah, who found favor and grace in Yahweh's sight. That Abraham, just really knew. I'm trying to articulate this while it's forming in my brain. But could it be that Abraham knew the mercy of Yahweh and he was just conversing with him because he heard the story that Noah and his family were spared while the earth was destroyed? What do you think about that?
My problem is I can't think about that because I don't have text to support it at this point. I don't know. I could, from Moshe on, I could say the story of Noah, I'm certain, spread down with them. But we don't have anything in the text, the Masoretic, we don't have anything in any of the text, Textus Receptus, none of the age-old, text that would indict or indicate that there is, in fact, that's where Noah's or Abraham is coming from. Everybody's related to Noah. Everybody's related to Noah. Everybody on the planet is related to two people, Adam and Noah. So Avram, I can't. I would love to think about that, Pastor, but I can't. I don't. No, it's a great. This is what Bible Book Club is for. This is exactly where you put that thought on the table at. But we have nothing. What I would have to fall back to is Deuteronomy 29:29.
Got it.
Can somebody read Deuteronomy? Would you help us out? Could you read Deuteronomy 29:29 into text for us, into writing for us?
Okay, let me get there. Well, I have a mouthful of food. Sorry.
Oh! I got you. I got it. I got it.
Things belong to Yahweh.
Hold on, hey, Pastor. One more swallow. Just one. You got to suck it one more time. Get it dry. Okay, now go ahead and read it now. My mama taught me that a long time ago. She said, "Get it to the side of the throat where it don't block the air, and it should be good." Go ahead, say it again.
I was trying to do that. So, okay. The secret things belong to Yahweh, our Elohim, but those things which are revealed belong
right there
to us. And to
right.
Us. Okay.
And I recommend that to everybody reading, thinking, and coming with what goes on with the writ and what have you. There are some things we're going to have questions about. Our intellect and our intuition are going to rise up, kick up, and start talking. And it's going to seem like, oh, this should be able to fit. But in accuracy and proper kingdom propagation, we want to make sure that we have something to vet it by. And I don't. I theorize with you, but I don't have anything revealed to me about that specific question. Good question. Does that stir anybody else's brain and mindset? Nobody's flashing microphones. None of this stuff is deep. It's deep.
Daphne.
Okay, I flashed my mic because it was deep to me. Daphne, what you got, beloved? Shalom.
Shalom, sir. And I just want to thank Pastor Spencer because I was thinking the same thing, in the same kind of way. Whereas, it appeared to Abraham that he destroyed the earth before, and pleading with Yahweh to say, okay, you did this before, but I'm asking you, please, there are some righteous soldiers. Can you just spare those within those limits, the righteous within that area? Because you wiped out the whole earth before, but just spare them. I was thinking the same exact way as Pastor Spencer.
Right. And so here is the thing that, though it should be obvious, is not obvious within most readers of the Bible. Most don't remember until you start reading like we read. Okay, Noah replenished the earth. This is after his grandfather Adam, our father Adam, right? Adam replenished the earth. Yahweh wiped it off, and Noah restarted, right? Because a lot of people go back, they just leapfrog over Noah and like, oh, we're all from Adam. Yeah, we all are from Adam, but you are definitely also all from Noah. Never disrespect Noah. And so even with Noah, by the time Avram is on the scene, I'm sure that the story of Noah may have been something on the mind of all of civilization. Because all the nations on the earth now officially come from Shem, Ham, Japheth, and Noah. And this is where another group of individuals, i.e., are, a lot of our Hebrew Israelites and some others from the other faith systems of, like, those who are in the Kemet and those who are in the Egyptology and what have you. And we're talking about, the places that we now originated from. Some people, myself included, look at Genesis chapter 1 and we talk about the Nile, and we talk about the Havilah, we talk about Euphrates, we talk about the Delta that Yahweh talked about in chapter number 2. And by the time you look up, they could easily be representing in type, though a physical reality, they could also be in type representing Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So when you read the Torah, we have to remember that Yahweh told Moshe, to block certain things he told Moshe out of the writ. Yeah, don't write that part down. Just know this. Blot that out the book. Give them this because I need them to focus on X, Y, and Z. Now, we'll talk about more of that as you get into the Torah. The more you're reading the Torah, you're going to see these things. So with that, Daphne, Pastor, you're right. Our minds should think, but many people do not pay attention to those types of distinctions. And if you don't pay attention to those types of distinctions, a lot of things can be preached at you and you grab that and run with it. But if you don't know the history and you don't know where things originated from, I love etymologies. So if you don't know where a thing originated from, you don't know its potential. You don't know its derivatives. You don't know its far reach or its foundation. So when we talk about, you say, why are you being all deep? No, when you talk about, could that have been the thought? Yeah, it really could have been. They were not long disconnected from the story of Noah. They're not far removed, Avram, from the story of Noah. So that would be like us being far removed from the story of Messiah and the cross. So there still had to be something that was very prevalent in the mind of the people. Now, you and I can think that and rationalize that, and it's a good rationale, but we can't vet it. And Deuteronomy 29 is the proof of that, because I don't know, Daphne, what they were talking about. I don't know how much of Yahweh. We do know this. Most believers of the Bible, Christians in particular, of every sect of Christendom, does not think that Yahweh existed in the world and was served by other nations in the world until Moshe came, or until Abraham came, and little small, speckle appearances. People don't understand that Yahweh was a God in the land of Chaldea. People don't understand that Yahweh was a God in the day of Abimelech. People don't understand that Yahweh was a God in the days of Gerar. They just put him in their demigods. Yahweh was a God in the days of Egypt. So, they knew Yahweh. That's why the law came in. The Torah came in and says, thou shalt not have any other gods before me. I'm so tired of being classified with these other demigods. Now, even though I said that and it will click in your intellectual mind, this entire platform will have to admit, I didn't even think about it that way. No?
Yes, it's Pastor Spencer again.
Amen.
I had read something in my favorite book of the Bible now, which is Deuteronomy.
Oh, yeah, you got to love that book.
And I'm trying to get to the scripture. I think it's Deuteronomy 12. And specifically, maybe it's 10. Specifically, let me find it and get back to you with that thought. But you're right. Yahweh basically said, do not treat me the way that they treat their demigods. Don't treat me like that. Don't do that to me. And he told them that over and over. And when I saw that in the scripture, I don't remember ever seeing that, but he was very clear. He was very precise about him being the set apart Elohim, and that they should not lump him in with the others. And so I just wanted to add that to what you said.
Right. Watch this. Even Abraham, and after he's gone, you have this person called Rebecca. Abraham goes to Laban and gets his son a wife, right? Rebecca and Laban. Well, Laban knew Yahweh. He just also served Melech, Kamesh, Estaroth. He served all those gods. Remember, when they left Laban, they took his god idols and put them under her tent. Well, under her in the tent. So they knew Yahweh. They just cached him into their little group of idols. And Yahweh was like, look, from this day forward, do not have another God before me or next to me. When you stop to think about that, that will change the entire way you view the Bible. And that changes the entire way you operate as a Christian. Because you keep thinking that Yahweh don't know people have made other gods in their own mind. He allows you to. You have free will, moral agency. You can do whatever you want. However, if you don't recognize him as God, you can do whatever you want. You can love whoever you want. You can say whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, only faith pleases the Father. Don't have another God in front of me and say you belong to me. Don't do it. It don't work well for you. I hope that made sense, Zion.
Yes, it does.
And so many of us oftentimes don't take the opportunity to express or purposefully engage the Torah because we don't need anything else. All we need is Jesus. Well, if that is the, I mean, he is the example. He is the ensample of how we should live in a demigod-driven world. Even Messiah says, "Hey, you can't serve Mammon and Elohim. You can't do it. You'll love one or you hate the other." Right? That's what he said very clearly. Can't serve them both. Even he understood the demagoguery of the day. And these are the important and very serious things that have to be explained. That's why he says, "Thou shalt not have any gods before me." I mean, think about it. How many demigods do you think Samson had, which was a problem for them? You read what we read last week. You'll see that he put other gods in front of the city of Jerusalem, where the city of Jerusalem was supposed to be for the God of our salvation, and you put other demigods in front of it, so people saw these demigods before they came to Jerusalem and saw the God of Israel. Bruh, what was you thinking?
You mean Solomon?
I said Samuel. Yes, thank you, Solomon. Yeah, that part. All right, quickly, Daphne, this is going to be my last question. Go.
I was just thinking about something so everyone knew Yahweh, and he just took the Israelite children to just be chose them as a role model or representation.
Chosen people. That's it. Chosen people, right there. Boom, bow.
Say represent me in
Exactly.
this way, the way I want the world to live. But now, when we look at some of the other people, they're not even doing that, and they went away from it. So that brings us back to us, our kingdom, our family. Now we are living his word and living according to how he wants us to be. So now I can connect with Yahweh. Was always there for all humanity. He just asked them to be a representation of how he wants them to carry his word and live his word.
Correct. So Yahweh chose, when we talk about the chosen people, this is what it means to be the chosen people. Oh, it hits so much different. It hits so much different. To be chosen, you are not the elite. To be chosen, and you were chosen to do what I needed to be done to separate me from all these other demigods. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Oh, child, things will get brighter. We just do way too much. Yahweh chose Avram, watch this, out of the land of Chaldea. In the land of Chaldea, they served a whole bunch of demigods. He said, "Look, you love me. I see you. The way you operate, I'm going to use you. Terah, bring your son Abraham. Y'all get out of the land of your fathers. I'm separating you so I can separate me in the earth." Nope, I'm not answering no more questions, because that right there just probably started a fire in the half of y'all. If it started a fire, flash your mics. I love it. All right. Moderators, tell us why we're here. I got it covered. Well, again, everybody, we want to welcome you to the the Bible Book Club. We're here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll also be here on Friday for what's known as the Proceeding Word. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the program called the Proceeding Word, where we talk about a lot of the issues that are happening within our social media, what's happening within our global politics, and within our state politics, and regional politics, whatever is sort of kind of happening that we can see that affects how we think and operate in this world. So we want you to remember to tune in for that. That's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As well, we have another program that is known as the DKM Bible Book Club or Bible Study. So that's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just had that last night. We're talking about a very controversial subject called the origin and the truth of the tithe. We'll be in part 5. So DKM is both on Sundays and Wednesdays, and the Sundays part of DKM is known as, very clearly and very specifically, it's known as the Morrow After Sabbath service. Why the Morrow After Sabbath? Because we are Sabbath keepers. So we honor Shabbat every Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We attempt to do a study, and when we can get one going, it will last as long as it can go before people are tired and we are ready to roll. As well, we also have it on Saturday morning, which would be at 11 a.m. ish Eastern Standard Time, and we operate and rock that one until Sabbath is usually over. So we want everyone to realize, everyone to know that there is a entire litany of worship and study in the writ that keeps us occupied mentally in the writ, and we can learn so much more when we study together. My name is Apostle B.W. Jones. You are here with the Bible Book Club. We're reading the writ slowly, word by word, verse by word, verse by verse, here a little and there a little. This is what we do. And we talk about things you might not have considered. And as you can see today, there are some things, they might be ancillary, most of them are, but they may also be extremely revelatory when you take time to sit and slow cook the word. This is where we are. This is what we do. We hope to have you again soon. Well, we're going to pray out. Father, thank you for the time and the will, your plan and purpose in this space. We're asking you to be glorified in all things done and spoken. To you be now glory, honor, dominion, might, and power, both now and forever. Bless these your people, I pray. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we all say, Amen. This room will end in 5, 4, 3, 2,
Shalom.
and 1.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
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 Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that this message has been a blessing to your very life and your soul, and more importantly, your walk with the King. Well, we have come to the end. I hope that you would consider becoming either a partner with us in ministry, or if you're not already a kingdom citizen, consider becoming one. By doing that, you can sow into this ministry so that we are able to continue to teach this type of ministry at a grand scale. Join us on all of our social media platforms and visit our webpage to make your contributions sure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Shalom Aleichem.